Hello and welcome to this special radio town hall meeting on integrity in the public service by the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, PRIMOG. I am Adaobi Obiabomo, the program manager at PRIMOG. PRIMOG is a civil society organization working to promote good governance, participation, and accountability in Nigeria. This town hall meeting aims at shining the spotlight on public servants displaying integrity without minding if anyone is watching. Today's program also seeks to promote honesty in the public service and x-ray challenges of government establishments in service delivery as well as profile solutions. We appreciate the MacArthur Foundation for supporting the production of this program. Public service in Nigeria and every other part of the world contributes immensely to its development and good governance. The success of a country is to a large extent tied to the human capital resources which the public service sector provides. Against the popular impression that public service in Nigeria today is not taking its rightful and pivotal role in fostering development in the country, some agencies of the government are proving that they are different. Going by a recent experience shared by a renowned journalist, Angela Gwawike, on her Facebook wall, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA, stands out in having cultured and upright staff in its ranks. What this means is that the public sector in Nigeria can deliver service effectively. My guest will speak on efforts on the ground to promote service delivery and integrity in the public service, as well as profile solutions on how to get more public servants to conform to rules and regulations. For you listening to us out there, please remember that you are an important part of this meeting. You have the opportunity to contribute via the phone shortly. But as a citizen, do you know that many public servants are not compromising standards out there? How do you think integrity can be entrenched more in the public service? Do you think Nigeria's public service is well equipped to make workers do the right thing? Then what reforms does the Nigeria public service need? You can begin to send your views to 0902 265 6167. That is 0902 265 6167. Let's start this conversation with renowned journalist Angela Gwawike, who was astonished by the professional service she received while processing a request at the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. Renowned journalist Angela Gwawike is here today. Angela is an editor and a communication specialist of international repute. She owns a radio station in Owerri, the Imo State capital, on Malicha Radio 91.1 FM. She is joined by Samuel Aduroboye himself, a journalist with decades of experience and currently the General Manager Public Relations at the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. We also have in the studio Nenna Akajimeli, the National Coordinator and Chief Executive Officer of Servicom, Ode Friday, the Country Director at Accountability Lab Nigeria. You're all welcome again to the program. If you have just tuned in, this is a special radio town hall meeting, and we are discussing honesty within the public service and the challenges of government agencies in service delivery. And you're right on time as the deliberations are just about to begin. To act with integrity means to act with consistency with established standards, principles, expectations, and values regulating a particular undertaking. Some school of thought says integrity in public service can only be fostered where top-level officers model ethical behavior and require it from others in the organization. But let me now turn to my guests to weigh in. I warmly welcome all my guests to this program, especially for making out time out of your busy schedule to join us. Angela Gwawike, you are welcome to today's episode of the Radio Town Hall Meeting on Integrity.
Thank you for having me.
And you took to your Facebook page to announce the treatment you got recently at the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority. For the benefit of people who did not read your post, could you briefly share your experience with the staff of NCAA and what impression did that experience leave you since then?
Okay, thank you, Adobe, for having me. Well, what happened was this. We needed to get NCAA clearance for radio masts. We want to mount in Owerri for our radio station. And I have never dealt with NCAA before. And in approaching this assignment for me, I was like, how am I supposed to do this? I've been to a lot of ministries to do some work, and I'm like, I would never go to this ministry again. So I had that apprehension within me. I didn't even know where NCAA office was. So what I did was to go online, find their website. I saw a phone number there. I called the number. Lo and behold, someone picked it up. I asked the question, where can I get this license? The person told me. It was actually a male voice. And but I forgot to ask him where NCAA was located. In my mind, it was, okay, I have to go to the secretariat, their office, their head office. But later I was like, okay, let me call them back again. I called back. Another person picked the phone. And in picking the phone, they were all very professional. I think the first thing that struck me was the fact that they actually picked the phone and answered my questions, because I've had this experience. I could go on and mention a lot of agencies. I've sent messages by email, called, and
did you receive any response?
No, definitely not. But this one was like, I told them, I said, what's going on? So when they gave me the information, I decided to go to their office. We're actually 3 of us that went. The person that answered me said, okay, when you get to the toll gates, entering the airport, ask them, NCAA is close by there. Which was what we did. At the toll gate, we asked the question and they directed us. When we entered there, right from the security man, I was like, okay, is this an agency of government or a private organization? You know, the kind of welcome we received, they directed us to the reception. We sat down. It was actually a very well-maintained reception, I have to say that. We sat down there. They gave us, processed our clearance to go in, gave us the tag, and we went in. Right from there, it was like everybody was, from security man to whoever we met, they were taking us from one place to the other, and I was pleasantly surprised. I was really pleasantly surprised. They took us to an office. I don't know, I guess I should mention the name because I actually put it on my Facebook wall. Mr. Debayo, I didn't even know his position. So we entered his office. He was very welcoming. We sat there, 3 of us, we chatted. I told him what we needed, and he said, yes, you are at the right place. This is what you will do. You will write an application, you do this, you do that, do it and send it, and we will respond to it. And that if we have any challenge, we should come back to him. So we thanked him and left. We did the letter, sent it in. After like 2 weeks, we didn't get a feedback from them. So I called him again. He said, don't worry. It hasn't come to my desk. If at all, it will come to my desk. But if you're worried, call them or go back to where you submitted the letter. So I sent someone to go there. He went, and they told him they would get back to him. A few days later, somebody called me from Lagos. That's Mr. Bello. It was actually after work. Initially, I was like, now, who's calling me after work? When he said NCAA, I said, do you also call people after work? He told me that reply to my application was ready, to my request was ready. How should he send it? By WhatsApp or by email? So I said, okay, send it by email. I sent him my email number, and he sent it to me. And some days later, I also received a call from another person, I think Mr. Nikachi, I hope I got the name right, from Port Harcourt, told me he had been directed to carry out inspection because he's based in Port Harcourt and our station is at Owerri. And we discussed and we arranged, and he came and he did everything and he left. Some day, maybe a week later, Mr. Bello now called me to say, your letter is ready, your approval is ready. Do you have someone to pick it up for you? So
we understand that in Nigeria, there's this issue of man, no man. Did that apply in your own case at all?
On this case, no, absolutely. I just related the experience. When we walked into NCAA, we knew no one. We just told them what we wanted.
And did you at any point, did anybody request that you should pay certain fee just to fast track the process?
No.
And you were just smiling while Angela narrated her experience. Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority is the regulatory body for aviation in Nigeria. NCAA was commended by many after Angela Agwawike shared her experience on social media. Tell us what your organization does differently to the extent that their service delivery is now linked to a private organization.
Well, I want to thank you for the honor of inviting my boss, the Director General, who asked me to stand in for him here. Currently is in Canada for a meeting. Now, having said that, I just want to say I think I have little or nothing to add to what she has said. I just have found what we stand for. Basically, that is the culture. From the beginning of NCA, we are meant to. I came from the private sector to NCA. So 40% of our staff strength are from the private sector. So just like she said, is it a private organization? No. But the culture was there from the beginning, a mixture of the government established and the private sector.
Could that be the reason why you're different from the
yes,
regular Nigerian
I want to
MDA?
think so. I want to think so, because from the beginning, the team, when I say team now, the first set of management team started the operation by way of going to the private sector, just like some of us were invited directly before they even advertised to start up the operation of NCA. So after some few months before the general recruitment. So it's like they know what they want to deliver. And if you must deliver, then you have to inject maybe the private sector blood and mix it with the government to establish order and be able to deliver. That is the crux of the status of NC from the beginning.
So aside from recruitment, do you conduct some sort of orientation for the staff?
Definitely at reception, when we have a new set of staffers, we do what we call induction training, where for some weeks, where everybody is educated on what we stand for, what we do, what we want, where we are, where we want to be, and all sort of. So that kind of program goes on for new intakes. And of course, remember that agencies are created on account of they want service delivery. This service used to be rendered by ministries, core ministries. So along the line, there is this clamor for we want value for money, service delivery. Then that will lead to creation of agencies. So of course, with that mandate, the only way for us to deliver and deliver on that mandate, that is what propels us.
That is highly commendable if you ask me. But let's shift to Angela again. Your experience obviously may not be obtainable in some other agencies of the government. He has mentioned recruitment and orientation of the staff. So why do you think lack of integrity continues to remain a big issue in the public service?
Off the cuff, I would say, look, if I know the answer, I'll be the president of this country, directing affairs so that I can get all the right people there. I think number one, there has to be that culture. People at the top, we think leadership does not matter, but it does matter, because when you set a standard and you uphold it, people will just fall in line. But you can't be doing one thing and ask those you're leading to do another thing. So you show example, and those coming behind you, the followership will fall in line. And there's also this problem we have with, we have laws, but we really don't have sanctions. That when you contravene certain rules and regulations, there's a sanction to it. It's just like breaking traffic regulation. You see drivers, they break the regulation, traffic rules, and they beg and you let them go. Oh, okay, go. But there's supposed to be a sanction. If you know that there's crime and punishment, let me use those words, I think people will do the right thing. Maybe that's the problem we have with the civil service. Maybe there's a lot of cronyism there. Maybe there's a lot of I don't care. It's not my property. It's not my father's company. It's public. So go there, take what belongs to you and leave. Maybe that tradition needs to change. And for it to change, we need to have the right leadership that is committed to the growth of this country and to service delivery as well. That's what I think.
Good. The tradition needs to change. Crime and punishment, the consequences of corrupt acts. Thank you for that. But let me get back to Samuel Aduroboye. NCAA plays a very important role as an agency of the government that oversights airport, airspace, the meteorological services. How has the organization been able to overcome influence of any sort? We understand that in one way or the other, the elite, the political elite, would want to influence whatever happens in some MDAs. How has the organization been able to withstand all of these external influences?
Well, I think people should know that what we do, we stand for international operations. NCA is an international, it's a Nigerian agency on aviation, but then we are governed by international rules. We exist for that aircraft that is flying, and everything about the aircraft is foreign. The language is foreign. It's a foreign product to us, and of course the regulation is also. We have a United Nations agency on aviation, which is called International Civil Aviation Organization. So they set standards. Every member state of UN must follow. Now, so if you are oversighting like we do, then you must comply to the standard they have established for every member state. And as such, even the staffers' recruitment is also regulated by them. So if you are not qualified, you can't be in NCA. And the reason is that if we have an unqualified staff, when they come to audit, we will be blacklisted as a nation.
So there is no external influence whatsoever?
In fact, by law, we are even autonomous. Political autonomous. So we are autonomous. The only thing we do is that financial regulation, we must go to Assembly, National Assembly, also to defend our budget. We are self-financing. Just to let you know how it works, we don't draw money from government. It's though established by government, but self-financing by IGR. Now, having said that, because we are following international laws, we are being audited at intervals. So, if you influence it, if you interfere, the nation, the international agency is monitoring every member state. If your government interfere, they will blacklist you, meaning that your country is not safe.
Okay,
so that's what helps us. Thank
you so much. From recruitment to orientation, international best practices, political autonomy. Thank you for that, Samuel Aduroboye. Let's now speak with Nnenna Akajemeli, the National Coordinator and Chief Executive Officer at Servicom. Servicom is an initiative of the federal government of Nigeria conceived to promote effective and efficient service delivery in ministries, departments, and agencies. Servicom also ensures customer satisfaction and manages the performance expectation gap between the government and the citizens. You're welcome again, ma'am.
Thank you very much. We're delighted to be here.
Okay, challenges of service delivery and integrity in public service continues to be an issue we cannot wish away. Could you give us a sense of how much the initiative of Servicom has improved service delivery and ensured public satisfaction since it came on board?
Thank you very much. Let me express our delight to be here. We are happy to be part of this discussion, and to also appreciate Primo for bringing us to this town hall meeting. So to answer the question, Servicom, I want to quickly explain, is the customer service arm of every ministry, department, and agency that runs government business. And taking it very simply and very quickly, what the customer service does in the bank is what Servicom is supposed to be doing. So the ministries, departments, and agencies that run government business, and so they are to facilitate the connectedness of government to citizens, to stakeholders, and to ensure that the business of government is run with the mindset of having government touch the lives of the service takers. And so providers, by this relationship, are supposed to position themselves to serve the citizens satisfactorily and to also serve them right, as a matter of their responsibility, rights and responsibility.
Can we say that MDAs have served the citizens? The service delivery is 100% or maybe 50%?
I'm sure you know the answer. So, and the answer is ideally that's where we all wish to be, and so that is not the case.
But we are not there yet.
We are not there. We are not just there. We are in the process, and we have pockets of compliance, but a lot more needs to be done. Let me also say here that Servicom, being a service compliant office, says it the way it is. By training and by positioning, Servicom reports to government the true status of services delivered to citizens. And we have a tool to report to this.
Okay, aside from reporting, does Servicom have the capacity to punish civil servants?
Let me give you an analysis here that would properly set the tone for the answer you would want to hear. For now, we're working on getting a bill, and this bill has made tremendous progress. In that bill, we have, looking at the examples of other nations, what has worked, looking at also the international best practice around customer service and service delivery to citizens by governments. The new law that we're driving to, the new bill that we're driving to have an act and a law to drive the service delivery process in Nigeria contains some subtle punishment for CEOs, for chief accounting officers, for people in position who are supposed to serve citizens who compromise on such responsibilities. That is provided for going forward, and that is where we're working to be. And so there is now the responsibility versus what you're supposed to be. You're now held much more accountable. But presently, what do we have? We use the raise and praise and the name and shame practice for now. And what does this mean? It means that when we carry out our evaluations, to determine the status of service delivery at various service windows, at various ministries, departments, and agencies, for those who excel, for those who truly, just like the example that was given by NCA, those who stand out and they do what government has mandated them to do, we raise and praise. For those who fall short and citizens or customers have what we refer to as service failure experiences at their service windows, we name and shame and publish.
Okay, thank you for that, naming and shaming, and also naming and faming. Thank you so much. Let me quickly get to Friday Ode, who is the Country Director, Accountability Lab Nigeria. Accountability Lab has been discovering a lot of public servants of integrity in the past years. What is your assessment of integrity in the public service? Are we retrogressing or progressing, and why?
Thank you very much. It's quite interesting to know that it's not, I hear one of the previous speakers talked about we need to build this culture. It's not a culture in our own context to see people of integrity in our daily lives. So once something happens, it strikes us as unusual, and we try to move around this conversation. But building this conversation with MDAs, I think it's progressing. But the only challenge I see basically for me is there's a political context and there's a governance context. So if you look at most of the MDAs and how they operate, I think progress has been made by Servicom to ensure service delivery, which is one of the aims that we as citizens want to see, like quality service delivery with when we engage with public institutions. The second is the anti-corruption agencies, and most especially Bureau of Public Service Reforms. I think they've been making progress in this direction. One thing we try to look at in this context is in making progress, there is systems change. Madam talked about policies, but we found a lot of policies that deals with structures, but we've not seen that policies or programs, like we had the Change Begins With Me program a couple of years ago, which was driven by the government, but we don't see progress in that context. But with individuals, we see changes in our daily lives, and thanks to the person from NCA as well, which I think we are beginning to hear these stories here and there, which I think 200 million Nigerians is striking, but yes, this progress is in individuals that we see in our everyday lives. So I think there's progress.
Okay, I'll still get back to you, but I think I should open the phone line to get the person listening at the other end of the dial to join the conversation. And we ask, how do you think we can improve integrity in the public service? How much do you know about measures put in place by the government to improve service delivery? And what are the reforms needed to entrench integrity, honesty among public servants in Nigeria? I'll get back to Madam Nena. You've heard the story from Angela Gwawike and from NCAA also. How would you react to the service delivery in that agency?
That's a very heartwarming story for me, and indeed for all Nigerians. It's a very positive narrative that encourages us to do more, especially around accountability issues, openness, connectedness, and integrity. There are pockets of positive experiences, especially around the aviation. We've done quite a lot of work, looking at what we've done with FAN, looking at what we've done around the aviation sector, using the example of FAN and how we're able to reposition the customer service around FAN, and then to try to build trust, because that's when before Servicom came into being, trust was lost, and so we try to build trust. And so there are examples of where people have had to experience service failures, but with the intervention of the customer service as prepared and as repositioned, working with Servicom, we've been able to record positive development. And I'll give you an example. Again, back to Port Harcourt. This is a quick example that would send home a strong message around what we can do better and what we should really do better.
Okay, let's have that example in 30 seconds.
All right. So a Nigerian came home from the US with his family, and they do this every 2 years. And so when he was to travel, some officers around the airport wanted some money to extort money from them. And so a custom officer, citing a FAN staff wearing a jacket, usually they wear their customer service jacket, they stand out. And so the custom officer quickly beckoned to the man, because they were going to miss their flights, a whole family of about 7. And so now walked to the man and I said, look at that woman wearing FAN Servicom jacket. Go to Servicom. I said, what's Servicom? I said, go to that woman wearing that jacket. She's going to help you. And so the woman quickly moved. Because of the training and the positioning and some interventions we made in FAN, they are trained to be there for the people. And just walked up to issue was and then stopped it. The money, she actually brought out those who wanted to be bribed, and then they did not miss their flight. And this was, you can imagine a custom officer referring to the example of FAN staff of customer service and say, go to Servicom, they will do it for you. So trust is entrenched, trust is built, and they have positive narration.
That is
to add to what you heard earlier.
Yes. But we've heard citizens complain about some staff or officers of the Nigerian Immigration Service who tried to who extorted them when they tried to either get their passport or when they go to renew their passport. This is another government agencies. How should citizens react who have such issues?
Now, for every such experience, please do not walk away. That's the first advice. Servicom has positioned ministerial Servicom units in every ministry, department, and agency to address such issues. There are examples of still bad officers who do not do the right thing.
So when they report to Servicom,
when they report to them, they've been trained to take it up and resolve these issues very quickly. So we have pockets of those who are still doing that, but we're working to bring a lot of people to the positive side of ensuring that they are held much more accountable, and we continue to promote openness and transparency in the service delivery processes and systems.
Okay, thank you for that. The numbers to call to join in the conversation: 0809 40,072. Joining us in the studio is Kabiru Sariki Bello. He is the Deputy Director, Reform Coordinator at Bureau of Public Service Reforms. You're welcome to today's episode of the program. Do we have a call?
Thank you very much.
Nigerians have been worried about the integrity and dignity of the public service in Nigeria since the advent of democracy in 1999. What are the reforms on the ground presently to improve the public service?
Thank you very much. I am representing my Director General at the Bureau of Public Service Reforms. The reforms on the ground are deployment of Bureau's self-assessment to all the MDAs for improved performance, productivity, and quality service delivery to citizens. Number 2, we conduct induction programs to chief executive officers, chairmen, and members of boards, councils of federal parastatals, agencies, and commissions. We also do the lunchtime seminars, which is a monthly routine program we do every month with different MDAs.
How effective has this been, the reforms?
The reform has been very, very effective because we have been seeing changes from MDAs. MDAs are beginning to realize how important these reforms are, and they are following suit.
It's good to hear that, but when the callers begin to call in, we'll know if they agree with the reforms and if the MDAs are complying with all of these reforms, and if we would have more stories of integrity or stories of corruption and extortion. Hello? Okay, your name and where you're calling us from?
My name is Neka. I'm calling from Central Bay.
Neka, let's hear you.
Okay, I want to appreciate the hard work being done by the Servicom office and the Servicom madam. But I want to ask that can Servicom not be cascaded further, to be impactful in states, particularly state offices, because it seems that the focus is on the federal government, and somebody that doesn't have access to federal or to headquarters, so to say, will have challenges, especially in state offices, because if people have issues with, for example, passports, that means they are stranded till the Servicom office.
Okay, so you want a situation where we would have more Servicom offices at the state level?
Exactly.
All right, thank you so much, Neka, for your contribution. Hello, and in your name and where you're calling us from?
Yes, my name is Samuel. I'm calling you from Garikitu.
Let's hear you, Samuel.
Yeah, I want to thank you for this, platform. Yes, Servicom has been doing very well, but I want to comment on something. You see, apart from going there physically, like the issue directed by one of your guests there, sometimes they have platforms that people can communicate with them, either write an email, or if you go to their website, they have a place where you can send your comments and they will respond. A ministry like Ministry of Communication, honestly, I am disappointed in them and their agencies, especially NCC. They never reply anybody. And what they are doing now is not good for Nigerians. Nigeria has a population that is tending to 300 million people. In fact, in the whole world arena of communication, after India, China, America, it should be Nigeria. Because of our communication, we should enjoy a lot of benefits. But we're not getting it because Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy is not working. NCC also is not working. NCC is supposed to be a regulatory agency, but the service providers are regulating them the other way around. This is very wrong. Why should a Nigerian pay 4 naira for text message? Why should cost of data be so high? Why do we have to pay 11 kobo per second for calls with a population of almost 300 million people?
Okay,
it's not done.
20 seconds.
Listen to me, please. Let me use this platform and make this very known. It is very, very wrong. The NCC has to come up and do their work. I have written to them personally. They never replied me because they know what I was saying was the right thing. I have written to the Ministry of Communication itself. They never replied because they know what I was saying is the right thing. They should not treat Nigerians this way.
Okay.
Nigerians should enjoy communication dividends.
All right, thank you so much. We have to give other people the opportunity to call in.
Yes,
thank you.
Ministry of Communication should respond to people's questions and queries.
Okay, thank you so much. The Ministry of Communication should respond to your response. Perhaps you might want to route your grievances through Servicom. Should have us should provide the email address where Nigerians can report such grievances or any form of corruption or extortion. But back in the studio, I still have my guest, Ode Friday, who is the country director, Accountability Lab Nigeria. Could you give us a sense of the difficulties and challenges of public servants being persons of integrity, and what are the hurdles before those that wish to be upright in Nigeria? I know you've been working with them in the past 5 years. Getting an icon or having someone nominate a person of integrity in the public sector has been quite challenging. Could you just give us a sense of all of that?
Yeah, I'll still go back to one of the things that we talked about the culture within the society. So many people believe in a particular way of doing things, which has become the social norm, which is quite challenging in changing these things. So if you walk into a government office, citizens assume you don't just get service delivery just like that. There's already that thing that somebody must give you a challenge, which is basically one of the challenges around. I'm trying not as much as possible not to use the word bribery, but facilitation payments in terms of service delivery is one of the challenges which we've seen. Doing the right thing is another challenge. In February or March early this year, with support from MacArthur Foundation and partnership with BPSR as well, we had conducted the Integrity Conference with in attendance with over 200 public servants and in 70 MDAs. One of the things we found out in that conference was public servants are not aware of the code of conduct. It was quite challenging. So at the lab, we are trying to do that much to see how we can create the awareness for people to understand the values which needs to be built into the system. In 2020 as well, the ICPC has also put up a policy, the National Ethics and Integrity Policy, in order to mitigate some of these challenges. But very key for us is how things have been done previously. That's why I mentioned earlier on. I think for public servants who are now coming out to speak and from moving from just being role models. So role models are people who just sit back. Yes, you have a person of integrity, to becoming trendsetters. So people want to change the system. They want to make sure we change the way things are done.
Changing the system. How can we now replicate what we have seen at NCAA in other government agencies?
For me, I think we need to continue having conversations on positive narrative. One of the key things I've seen around it has its own influence. These things are not much talked about. So, currently, we're in the election campaign season, which I also want to use this medium to encourage the media as well to start having these conversations. Politicians are going to take charge of everywhere. Front pages of newspaper, 7 a.m. news, we'll be hearing all of that. But once we begin to hear positive narratives, things about accountability, how we can build the system, I think this is another way we can do this with the media, which can encourage Nigerians to also pay attention from not what was before, but what it should be around accountability and integrity.
Thank you so much, accountability and integrity. And recently, the chairman of the ICPC, Professor Bolaji Owosunayin, said that Nigeria is in short supply of integrity, just to add to what you just said. But let me quickly get back to Kabir Seriki Bello, the reform coordinator at Bureau of Public Service Reform. Public service across Nigeria, across the world, have always been constrained by the reform imperative of modernization. In our case, what are the constraints of the Bureau of Public Service Reform in building a public service worthy of emulation across the country?
Thank you very much. Well, we all know that there is no organization that works effectively without funding. This is one of the major problems we have. We have shortage in funding, and we need it to be improved. Secondly, we do a lot of manpower development and capacity building, and we don't have much funds to do that, to take up with activities that we do in the department. And then we don't have office space. We have
so those are the challenges mitigating the Bureau.
Such challenges, and then we don't have working tools. And then when they deploy officers to our office, they don't stay. After a little time, they look for posting and they go out of it. So we don't have this continuity. We always have this breakup in working.
Okay, so aside from what you just mentioned, the challenge of funds, and so what more can the Bureau do to ensure that we get to hear positive stories of like that of Angela in other MDAs?
Well, what we do in other MDAs, we do a lot of sensitization and awareness so that MDAs will be fully aware of what we do at the Bureau. We also do lunchtime seminars. This is a monthly routine program we do almost every month. We showcase the activities of MDAs. I can cite some examples, like we had done for the Nigerian Ports Authority. I think that was the last one we did, and it was presented by the MD. He was there, although via Zoom, but he was able to showcase what they do in NPA and so on and so forth. We also do a lot of publications. We have publications that we do.
Okay.
Then we develop compendium of reforms. And then we establish communication networks with directors of reforms. And then we create a lot of forum of active exchange of ideas.
Thank you for that. So, but in 1 minute, what can you say to that person listening to you? What is that thing you want to say to that person to ensure that the person upholds the tenets of integrity? We want to see more integrity stories out there. What can you say to that person listening to you?
We all know that when we want to talk about integrity, we have to keep corruption aside. We all have our works that we do at work, and we expect that everybody should do its work as at when do.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, back to Angela Agwawike. Public service and public perception on integrity in public service is very low, and some Nigerians out there have unpleasant experiences when assessing one service or the other. In the public sector, what should be the government's approach in ensuring integrity of staff under its agencies? In 1 minute, please.
Well, I would think that first of all, websites work these days. Online interaction, they work a lot. If government agencies, government ministries have set up websites, they should actually make them functional. I've written to a lot of agencies when I want to do stuff with them, and no one would respond, and you have to go there. So if these things work and you don't always have that physical interaction with people, there's the ability for them to ask you for any inducement is very, very reduced. So if those things work, that would be a first way. And also there are complaint sections. If they get a complaint, they should actually respond to such complaints. It will imbue confidence in the users, in the clients, and maybe internally too. When such officers, especially the lower ranked ones who are commended, I think if the agency also recognizes them, even by letter from the top boss, it will encourage them to do more.
Okay, compliments as a sort of will encourage those who are persons of integrity. And then MDAs should try as much as possible to reduce face-to-face interface. Thank you so much. I also have Samuel Aduroboye, General Manager, Public Relations, NCAA. One thing is to attain a great height, and another, but it is more work to stay up and strong. What is NCAA going to do going forward to sustain the good impression recently created when it attended to Angela Agwawike? In 1 minute, please.
Well, I agree with you that it's a great challenge to be up there and not to come down again. But what we do in NCAA basically the reward system. We have an established reward system to reward excellence and also punish wrongdoing. So that is number one. We do training regularly. In fact, that is our own capital project, training of staff. So at one time or the other, you haven't seen staff somewhere at any training. So we strengthen that every day. It's the human resource, and that is our own strength. Teaching people, sending all over the world, countries for exposure, because there's something new you can learn from the other side, not necessarily in the books. So those are the area, and of course, the pay also, you try to, from time to time, the condition of service, make the work attractive to people. It's not necessarily about increasing pay, but the other welfare and monument to make people sentimentally attached to their job. Those are the areas. When there is a wrongdoing, it should be punished. When you do well, you are commended.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Your name and where you're calling us from, please.
My name is Tolu. I'm calling from Gariki.
Let's hear you, Tolu, in 1 minute.
Okay, we just want to commend Mrs. MacArthur, the national coordinator, for what she has been doing. She has brought out Servicom to the burners. There's more work that needs to be done. Nigeria needs to know more about Servicom. But I'm just calling to commend her for what she has been doing. She has been doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much for your contribution.
Thank you.
Okay, ma'am, you've heard people commend you.
Thank you.
One of the callers did say that, do we have Servicom at the states, or is it just in the federal, the FCT?
Thank you very much. We're pushing to also take Servicom to the sub-national. Thursday, 2 weeks back, I made a presentation to the National Economic Council, chaired by the Mr. Vice President, where we had a meeting where I did a presentation to all the governors and enumerated the importance of also taking Servicom and Service Delivery Initiative to the states as well as the local government. For us, it is work in progress across ministries, departments, and agencies. And so, activating the customer service arm and ensuring that all the mandates of MDAs are broken down into measurable standards. They have service charter, realistic service charter that would ensure that people get served right. This will go a long way in dethroning compromised services and enthroning integrity and trust in the services we render to Nigerians.
Thank you so much. I just hope that after this program we'll get to hear more stories of integrity. But as we round up, let me quickly get to Friday Ode. What is Accountability Lab doing to identify more young Nigerians of integrity? Let me take this call. Hello, please, your name and where you're calling us from.
Okay, my name is Ifoma. I'm calling from Maraba.
Let's hear you in 1 minute, Ifoma.
Okay. I just called to Madam Servicom is on studio, I guess, right?
Yes, she is.
Okay. I just want to commend her. I was at the airport some time ago and I had issues. And I just went to where they say we should complain, and my issue was rectified. So we are feeling the impact of Servicom now. I just want her to keep doing the good work and we'll get there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your contribution. Keep doing the good work, Servicom, not just for those in Abuja, but for those at the state also. Thank you for your intervention earlier. Friday, in 1 minute, what is Accountability Lab doing to identify more young Nigerians of integrity? In 30 seconds, if I can have that.
Thank you very much. At the lab, we have engaged volunteers across the country, 36 states and FCT, who engage with the states, state agencies, state secretariats. They also go to the state ministries, department and agencies to help identify people that are doing the right thing, mostly recommended by their colleagues. So we at the lab, we also do a background check to also validate and verify this information across board.
Okay, thank you so much. With this, we have come to the end of this special radio town hall meeting on integrity in the public sector. We will inform you in due time when next we are having a town hall meeting. Sincerely appreciate our guests, renowned journalist Angela Agwawike, Samuel Aduroboye, General Manager, Public Relations at NCAA, Nenna Akajimeli, the National Coordinator and Chief Executive Officer at Servicom. We also appreciate Kabir Seriki Bello, who is the Deputy Director, Reform Coordinator at the Bureau of Public Service Reform. We also appreciate Friday Ode, the Country Director at Accountability Lab Nigeria. If you have a message for us or you want to react to what you heard on this program, please visit us at primorg.org, or you can send a message 0902-265-6167. That is 0902-265-6167. Please visit the news page of our website, primorgnews.org. That is primorgnews.org for all the details of our reports and interviews. Visit our website, www.primorg.org, to get all the information about Primorg. This radio town hall meeting on integrity in public service has the support of the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, which is committed to building a more just, verdant, and peaceful world. Get more information about the foundation at its website. We sincerely appreciate the Primorg team for their wonderful work. The executive producer of this town hall meeting is Okiri Agbonsuremi. Integrity pays. If you want to see the change, please be a person of integrity. I am Adaobi Obiabumo. Thank you all for being a part of today's program.